Welcome back to Outside Views, and bro, we need to talk. And today I want to talk about the latest wave of hype coming out of Great Britain, a wave that for me feels deeply unsettling. I'm talking about the so-called AI superpower fantasy. Following the recent visit by US President Donald Trump, American tech companies promised a staggering £150 billion in investments for AI on the island. And Prime Minister Keir Starmer is now rushing to declare the UK an AI superpower, a Goldilocks position in the new age, as the head of Nvidia put it. And for many in the UK, this is being framed as the first true, undeniable success story of Brexit. They argue that leaving the EU has finally allowed Britain to cut a better, faster, more lucrative deal with the United States, freeing itself from slow-moving Brussels bureaucracy. But for me, this entire narrative is a dangerous delusion. This AI boom is not a sign of independence or strength. It's a clear-cut case of new, profound, and strategically dangerous dependence on the United States. I believe that Brexit didn't pave the way for a superpower, but for a high-tech vassal state. The very reports celebrating this pact contain the warnings we should all be listening to. While London is in a state of AI fever, experts are sounding the alarm bells about new dependencies. What does it mean for a country to become an AI superpower by selling its future to a single foreign power? It means that Britain is trading one set of rules, the transparent, consensual, if sometimes slow rules of the European Union, for the unpredictable, self-interested whims of American tech giants and an increasingly unreliable US presidency. Let's be absolutely clear here. This entire deal is a direct consequence of Brexit. Because the UK chose to exit the most important trading bloc on the planet, it is now desperate for any headline-grabbing deal to justify the economic self-harm. And the US under Trump knows this and knows that desperation is leverage. The price tag for the so-called freedom is the soul of the UK's technological future. And the irony, which is not lost on me, is that while the UK is racing toward this dependency, the EU is having a serious and necessary debate about how to handle the AI transition responsibly. The UK's excitement stands in stark contrast to the catastrophic wailing and that's coming from Brussels about its own slow progress. But I side with the critics like the former head of the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi here. Draghi rightly pointed out that Europe is still mired in the technologies of the last century and risks repeating the mistake of the late 90s internet revolution. He even suggested that the EU should potentially halt its planned regulation of risky AI applications, the so-called AI Act, until the downsides are better understood. And while some Brexiteers are celebrating this as further proof that the EU is too slow and regulated, I see it as evidence of responsible caution. The EU is debating control and ethics before profits. And the UK, blinded by post-Brexit desperation, is simply throwing open the doors to Silicon Valley, prioritizing speed and headlines over strategic autonomy and public safety in this point. And in my view, the question is not whether the UK will build new AI centers. It is who will ultimately control the data, the innovation, and the power that flows from them. The UK is getting the investment, but the US is getting the strategic control. This AI pact is simply the latest chapter in the sad story of post-Brexit Britain. It's a story of a country that was promised sovereignty, but which is now exchanging a voice at the table in Brussels for a seat at the children's table in Washington, D.C. It is the ultimate irony that the UK left the EU to take back control, only to hand over control of its most vital future technology to a foreign power. This isn't an AI superpower, it's an AI satellite state, basking in the reflected glow of American investment. The UK is sacrificing its long-term strategic interest for a short-term political victory. And that, for me, is the true tragedy of the Brexit project. Every perceived win is a simple transaction that leaves the country weaker and more dependent than it was before. And the mixed feelings in Great Britain are right on the money here. There may be a burst of euphoria, but beneath it lies the bitter taste of a future mortgage to a foreign power. And until Britain acknowledges this reality, it will continue to chase these empty headline-grabbing deals. So thanks for joining me today on Outside Views, and I'm really looking forward to your comments on that one. And if you want to see another video right now, the next one is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.